First of all, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the film. I have to say, Patrizia Reggiani, that is the role of a lifetime.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. It's really very kind of you. And, I think when people say, performance of a lifetime, that what I felt doing this role was that I put my lifetime into the performance. And it's something I'll never forget. Every day on set, I was so aware that my feet were planted on the soil of the home of my ancestors, and that they worked so hard so that my family could have a better life. And look at me now. Look where we are.
That's really interesting because as an Italian American, do you think that allowed you to bring in another layer to your approach to playing this role?
I think that it brought in another layer for sure because of my reverence for Italy and for Italian people. But being Italian American is different than being Italian. My family came over and was immigrants here, but then we assimilated. So assimilation changes culture. And I grew up in a culture of plenty. I grew up with a ton of food on the table and a lot of celebration over family and relationships and realness. And so I would say in a way, yes, because of my reverence for being Italian American. And also it was a challenge because I was very aware very quickly once I started to research Patrizia Reggiani, and watch her interviews that this is a real Italian woman. This is not an Italian American. And that means that my ethnicity had to be accurate.
You totally absorbed yourself in the role, and that is very, very obvious. Much has been made of that. Tell us about that particular approach that's been called everywhere, method acting.
Yeah, I consider myself a method actress. I don't view this as a badge of honor that I need to wear, nor do I think it's the best way to act. It's just my way. I studied Lee Strasberg method when I was younger, and I studied at Circle in the Square. I learned lots of sense memory technique, a lot of personification. I worked with Susan Batson, an incredible acting teacher for this film, and I used the Susan Batson method as well. I worked with Beatrice Peluccia on the movie, and she's a real Italian woman who worked on my dialect with me and was with me every day. So I spoke in my accent for 6 months before we started filming, and then I continued to speak in it for 3.5 months. So I was in my accent all the time.
That must be incredibly difficult, and also it must play with your head slightly.
It started to play with my head later. Not at the 6 months leading up to the filming. It didn't play with my head. I was very much in control of the chaos. And I feel that I was in control of the chaos the whole time. I mean, there is a discipline to chaos. You have to harness your passion in a way that allows you to be present and free on set. And also, then once we started filming, what was challenging was feeling the real life symptoms of being Patrizia all the time and what she went through. A woman living in a man's world, and a woman that, you saw the film, you watched it, she's very much an outsider, and she's not of the same class as the Guccis. And I actually really resent this idea that the media talked about her as a gold digger. I think she was really in love, and I think she just was always looking for an entry point to try to matter, a way to survive. And I don't think that women should be called hustlers and gold diggers because they want to have a better life. This was not about money for her, because when they got married, he didn't have money. He was not, he didn't have half of Gucci. When she put a hit out on him, they were divorced. So the financial stakes that people think were there were not, and the love was. I don't think so. I don't want to collude with Patrizia Gucci, and I think she wants to drive a famous narrative of herself as a notorious killer and a woman that advised Gucci, and I think what she did was wrong. I think she deeply regrets it, and if anything, I extend my heart to her daughters, and they probably don't want that, but for what it's worth, I do care deeply that this must be very painful for them. And, you know, as an actress, that's something I have to reckon with.
Interesting, isn't it, what you say about how she was treated as a woman, and there are statements made during the film, you know, what do you know, you're a woman. That scenario couldn't happen in a big fashion house now, could it? We do see a lot of females that are leading the way, or do we still have a lot of work to go?
I think this happens all the time. I think it happens all over the world all the time, and I think that men are very comfortable working with other men because having to be held accountable to a woman creates discomfort, and so it's just easier to push women out. And I think it happens all the time. Do I think in some places it doesn't? For sure. I think some places have ethics and values that run from the top down and are truly a part of the fabric of their business. But I also believe that this is very alive. What I can say, though, is I had a wonderful experience working with Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is an incredible director, and I was on set with mostly men every day, but I felt very empowered by him. He cared what I thought. He cared what I was feeling. He cared about my mental health as I was experiencing a lot of trauma while we were filming, calling upon my own life experiences in order to create sense memory for Patrizia. You know, this was a very positive experience, and also challenging, but not because I was inside of a patriarchal system that was really oppressing me, but I was inside of an alternate reality that felt real.